Hello viewers, I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to the weekly show, The Business Talk with AJ right here on ITV Gold, your favorite channel. And this weekly show brings you all the latest that you need to know from the world of business, not only from US, but all over the world. We compile the stories, business stories, and we also bring you the stories that you may have missed. So that's what makes this show very interesting. Thank you for watching it. Thank you for your comments. And of course, the show is a courtesy of Sai CPS Services, a complete accounting firm for all your accounting and taxes needs. They can help you out. You can reach them at 908-380-6876 or visit saicpsservices.com on Facebook, on Zoom, and then of course in-person appointment is definitely possible. So do reach out to them for any question you have, whether regarding your personal taxes, corporate taxes, or business you want to start, or you just started a business, wherever you're confused. And no question is a small question as per Science CPS Services. I'd like to welcome Mr. AJ Kumar of Science CPS Services to the show. So good to see you.
Thank you, Sanjeevji. I appreciate that.
Happy Diwali to you.
Absolutely. Happy Diwali to you and to all our viewers.
Right.
Hope you had fun.
You know, in Diwali, we go out and try to put on a new look, and that's exactly what Mr. AJ has done.
Absolutely.
He has put on a new look first week after Diwali, and he's got a new look. He's looking
Absolutely.
good. Absolutely.
I hope you had fun on Diwali. In this show, we want to give an angle to the news. We want to help you understand the news. There's a lot of news in the market, but what's in it for you? What do you make sense? How do you make sense of this old what's out there in the market?
Very good. How do you make sense with the stock market?
Absolutely. So let's start with the stock market. I'm glad you started there. So stock market last week was going up every single day. For 4 days, it went up. Nasdaq is over 11,000. Dow Jones is over 31,000. Then suddenly it went down yesterday. So you have to be careful with the stock market. It's behaving erratic. It's behaving inconsistent to the interest rate news, even though the market news came out good for a lot of retailers, but still there is a lot of precaution in the air. People are expecting the SEC to increase the interest rate by 75 basis point, if not 100 basis point. This may not be the very end of it. There may be another increase in January. So this is all weighing it. This is all creating additional pressure on the stock market. That's why on one day you see stock market going up because of the positive news from the retailers, and next day when the stock market realizes that we are not out of so-called recession, it goes down. So stay away from the stock market unless you understand how it behaves.
It's a very volatile stock market, and this was bound to happen because, you know, as the companies are reporting their earnings, obviously the earnings are very disappointed. For example, Google just reported their earnings and they were down 8.5% on the top and the bottom line, and that didn't go too well with the investors. Microsoft also reported drop in their iCloud earnings, even though revenue was high, but iCloud revenue was less than expected.
Revenue was high, but the bottom line was not as expected.
Correct.
It's the initial hurdle, initial expenses. I mean, setting up the iCloud type of a business model can be very expensive.
Yep. So the stock market, be very careful. Let's see, you know, again, this is going to be happening. All right, with the stock market, we're going to connect with the mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are seeing the highest level that it hasn't seen in the decades. Now it's reaching above 7.5%. But again, 7.5% is for conventional mortgage, 30-year mortgage. For a regular person who wants to get a mortgage, if you have a good income, if if your credit score is excellent, and if your loan to value or debt to income ratio is within the guidelines, you perhaps can get a better rate. But don't expect to get anything better than less than 6% unless you want to pay a lot of points.
Absolutely. So the number we give you is for a normal standard rate.
Yes.
It could be worst or it could be better, just depending on your situation, depending on your credit history, depending on your debt to loan ratio. So there are a lot of factors that goes in there. So the rate that we have, 7.5% in the market, has been the highest in the last 20 years.
And you know what I like to add, that during a day, and in 8-10 hours a day, usually rate changes 2 to 3 times by the lenders, because lenders want to get business And so let's see what happens. So we talked about stock market, we touched base on the mortgage rates. Now there's a very interesting story that AJ is going to shed some more light on it, and that's called triple pandemic.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it. You have all heard about pandemic. When coronavirus came in the market a couple of years ago, pandemic was the word that every news channel was using. Then you heard about dual pandemic. Then now we are hearing a new word, triple demic, not pandemic, not twin demic, it's triple demic. So what we have is coronavirus, not out of completely out yet. We have the flu, seasonal flu in the winter season, and now we have a new virus. It's called RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. So it affects the breathing pattern. If you remember, coronavirus affects the breathing pattern. Flu is heavy on the respiratory system. RSV is all about the respiratory system as well. So the three viruses, coronavirus, the flu, as well as the RSV, is creating a situation where you need to be extremely careful this winter season. It's not a pandemic, it's not a twindemic, we are talking about triple demic. So be extra careful during this winter season.
So will there be triple vaccines that we'll have to take?
Well, most people are saying the coronavirus vaccine will help you with the flu as well, but there is no, it's too new in the market. There is no proven fact around it.
So again, the same kind of vaccines we're going to have to take or what?
We don't know yet. But
okay.
The caution for our viewers is be extra careful.
Exactly. We're not trying to scare you viewers, but just letting you know that this could happen. Now, what could happen and what has happened, it's an entirely different story. We talked about, again, stock market and the mortgage rates and now triple endemic. Talk about Britain. What has happened in last couple of months is just absolutely unbelievable. After former Prime Minister Boris Johnson resigned and Conservative Party had to go through all 9 yards to get all their MPs and everybody vote for individuals who were contesting for Prime Minister's job. It was going very well. There were a couple of contenders in the running, and obviously at that time Rishi Sunak of Indian origin was hot favorite to win. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because Rishi Sunak ended up in the final against Liz Truss, and then finally Liz Truss got more votes from the Conservative Party's MP, and she was elected as a leader of the Conservative Party, thus becoming Prime Minister of UK. And what happened? 45 days after she became Prime Minister, she resigned because whatever campaign promises that she made to the voters and the citizens, she could not deliver. So now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know by now, that we have Rishi Sunak of Indian origin is the new Prime Minister of UK.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of good things from this story. Rishi Sunak being the Indian origin, a lot of Indian newspaper are saying another Diwali gift or making it funny. So British ruled India. Now we have one of the Indians ruling Britain. So there are a lot of good.
There have been a lot of memes over this. But one thing is sure, it happened on Diwali day. So it is absolutely Diwali.
So it's a great news for Indians, for the Indian origin folks in US, back home in India. He's 42 years old, one of the youngest prime minister, youngest in last 200 years,
yes,
and probably the wealthiest. I have seen one of the news where they are saying his net worth could be as much as $800 million, the richest prime minister that Britain has seen.
But what makes him the richest is partially because he's married to Infosys founder Narayan Murthy's daughter.
Absolutely. The only daughter.
Yeah. No, they have son too.
This is the only daughter.
Only daughter, yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a son and daughter, and then they own certain percentage, I think around 1% in that $1 billion Infosys company.
Absolutely.
So that comes in, and then Rishi Sunak himself is obviously very educated,
and
right?
he was
and
the
he went to
hedge fund
Stanford.
manager.
Yes.
He was a very, very successful
investment banker
before he joined the politics, and he's doing very well. Even 7 weeks ago, even when Liz Truss won the election, he was almost becoming the prime minister. Unfortunately, the financial policies, financial decisions that Liz made were not supported by her own party. She fired the finance minister first, then her own secretary.
It's interesting because UK is in middle of recession. They're in middle
Absolutely.
of
No doubt
crisis,
about it.
energy crisis, and many bad things are happening. Pound is falling every day, right? So pound is falling by pound. That's I always say that every day.
Absolutely.
So now in this middle of all this situation, she gives out a tax credit package of like 150 million pounds. How can you do that?
How can you afford it?
And she couldn't come up with the answer that how would you replenish that $150 million shortfall if you're going to give her a tax credit package. That went on for like a couple of weeks, and finally she had to give up because her own party members were upset with that.
Absolutely. And we covered it in our last episode. Energy prices have increased more than 40% year over year in that country. The food prices have increased more than 11%. So how do you run a country? The economy is crushing. The pound is going down compared to all the foreign currencies. It's creating additional pressure on the foreign purchases because you have to pay more pounds to buy the material, to buy the food over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all those reasons were there to have Liz Truss resign, and now we have Rishi Sunak becoming the new prime minister, the youngest prime minister, the richest prime minister of an Indian origin ruling Britain.
Yes, absolutely. And listen, as much as we all are overjoyed with this news, and obviously Indians all over the world, they take pride in knowing that Indian origin finally has become UK's and the first colored prime minister of UK
something.
also in a history. That means a lot. But this gentleman, Mr. Sunak, has a lot of challenges ahead. The job is not going to be easy for him. He said he will work day in, day out. As we go into the taping of the show, this show, he had a conversation with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and together they talked about free trade agreement and whatnot. So slowly by slowly, he will start putting the things in the place. But if there is anyone who can salvage UK out of this crisis, it's him.
That's Rishi Sunak. Absolutely.
It's him. Now, in a 42-year-old, right, youngest in 200 years, guess what? Tony Blair, a Labour Party leader, because there's a Conservative Party and there's a Labour Party, and David Cameron, a Conservative, both became Prime Minister at 43.
Absolutely.
So Rishi just beat them by a year or a little less than a year. But he deserves it. And of course, when we say Rishi of Indian origin, he was born in UK, but he was born in UK with Indian origin parents. Father was a doctor, National Health Service, something like that, and mother was running a chemist or pharmacist shop.
Right. I think the parents were in South Africa somewhere.
Grandparents
Absolutely.
were there, and then they migrated, from there. And Rishi was born here, and the parents really sacrificed a lot. Saved a lot of money to send Rishi to private school because
Definitely.
this guy had something in his young age, and obviously he says in his free time he watches cricket and the football, means soccer, and plays with his dog, and of course watches movies and everything. But he's not going to have a whole lot of time once he's in the office full time at 10 Downing Street, and we wish him well.
And now we are waiting for the next US Prime Minister, President to be of an Indian origin.
Okay, I always say that, in about 2 decades or less than that,
Absolutely.
there will be Indian origin president here in the USA. Talk about USA and talk about president. We have the oldest president in the White House, Joe Biden, 80 years old. All right.
Absolutely.
So that makes him the oldest president in the White House. He just had a Diwali celebration.
And I understand it was the biggest Diwali celebration in White House. More than 200
But
people.
only certain organizations, individuals were invited.
Absolutely.
Was not open to many Hindu organizations. But here's the thing. After that, and I think it was just a day or so ago, that he was referring to Rishi Sunak becoming UK's Prime Minister, and he mispronounced Rishi as a Rashid. And he mispronounced his last name Sunak with something only Joe Biden can pronounce. I have no idea.
People mispronounce every day. People mispronounce my name, your name, and that's why I'm AJ and not Ajay.
And we don't mispronounce the name of the show. That's a business talk with AJ. It's time for us to take a short break. Once we come back, we're going to have a lot more interesting stories. And of course, cricket is also part of that. So please stay with us. Welcome back to the second half of the Business Talk with AJ right here on ITV Gold. This is the weekly show, viewers. In case if you have just found us for the very first time, we welcome you to the club of the really large number of viewers of this show, where we bring you all the latest that you need to know from the world of business from all over the world. And of course, this is all brought to you by Sai CPA Services, a full-fledged accounting firm. They can help you with bookkeeping and the payroll and taxes. They are very expert in taxes because they have knowledgeable, trained CPAs on hand. They can tackle any tax-related problem. God forbid, if you are in the middle of IRS audit, they can also help you out. Do give them a call. Reach out to them. 908-380-6876 or sciencepaservices.com. Also, I like to add, we are celebrating Diwali this week. Diwali celebration continues. Don't think that you don't need to think about taxes and it's only January, February, you'll think about that. I think this is the time that you really need to think about it, because the money that you want to save, or maybe perhaps you can put in one of the pension plans, and this is the time to do it before December 31st. So get the right advice from Sai CPA Services, and if you happen to call them, ask for Mr. AJ Kumar, who is also part of the show, and you will get a chance to speak to him and his delightful voice.
Absolutely, Sanjeevji. You said it rightly. Lot of planning happens before the year end. We come across a lot of people who ask us, what can we do to save taxes? And we politely say, it's too late for the last year. So this is the right time. We do a lot of planning between October 15th and December 31st. By now, for your small business, you already know how much money you will be making for the year. We can help you understand what can you do with that money, the profit, so you don't have to pay the taxes. You can defer taxes or you can save taxes. You can buy a car, for example, claim the 100% depreciation, bonus depreciation that ends at the end of this year. Next year is going to be 80%, not 100%. So there are a lot of rules that you can use before the year end to make a dent to your tax liability.
Okay, that's interesting, and that's why I'm saying, viewers, pay attention to it and listen. You can also, refer to somebody. If any of your friends or family members need any help, do let them know about Sai CPA Services. With that note, let's talk about gold rates.
Absolutely. So the gold rate is behaving the way it behaves every year. If you look at Diwali time, I mean, Diwali changes every year. Last year it was in November, but around Diwali time the gold rate will go up slightly because there is a lot of demand on gold. So last week we saw gold rate going slightly up, but in general the gold rate is going down slightly, 1%, 0.1% every week. But last week we saw a change in trend because of Diwali, but we expect the gold to be staying on the same rate or going slightly down in next 3 months. The gold, this is the right time to be buying gold. Gold rate is probably the lowest for many years, and it's expected to remain low or expected to go down for next couple of months.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard, I read somewhere that this year the gold shopping in India was at the highest, some tons, 18, 20 tons, something, and millions of
because the
dollars.
gold rate is good. On Diwali being the auspicious occasion, a lot of people buy the gold anyway. Stock market behaving erratic, as we covered in our first segment. People want an option to invest the money. If you have $100, people used to invest this money into the stock market, and now not being sure where the stock market is going to be tomorrow, they want an option to invest this money. That's why gold is becoming a standard.
This is not only gold, but in India, I read that the expensive cars were really selling off like a hot cake, and many dealers throughout the country didn't have cars in the stock because they were. I'm talking about new cars and expensive cars, high-end cars. I'm not talking about used cars. They were all out of it because the orders were booked before Diwali.
Well, that's normal in India. In US, you can go to an auto shop and buy the car immediately. In India, the process is you go there, you book the car, you pay them in advance, and wait for a couple of months before you get the car. That's business usual.
Booking. They still run that way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, and this is a really good, encouraging news, considering rupee is still falling against the dollar.
Well, yes, dollar is getting stronger, so you can buy more rupees. We saw last week 83, first time 83, it crossed 83.04. $1 was worth 83 rupees in the market. So that's an amazing thing. But it's not the rupees falling, it's more of the dollar getting stronger, as we covered in one of our last episodes. So US dollar is becoming the standard for the whole international market. Pound being down, UK changing the prime minister 3 times in last 3 months, stock market behaving erratic. This whole situation is creating a situation where international trade is being done through dollar. So dollar is getting stronger, more demand on dollar. Dollar being stronger is creating a situation when the rupees seems to be falling in comparison to US dollar.
You know, it's very interesting because I've never experienced like this. We have stock market acting very crazily, right? Mostly going down. Oil prices are very high. Up to where maybe I should say maybe we're in a soft recession, maybe a little bit of it, right? Economy is not doing that well, and dollar is getting stronger.
Absolutely. So a lot of these parameters are not sinking in, but we want to bring this news to our viewers. The US government is releasing 15 billion barrels of the gas in the market out of the reserve to create a situation where the gas prices are not going consistently higher. OPEC decided not to increase the production. So US is releasing the reserve to combat the pressure that the OPEC has created temporarily.
That's it. So it's not only rupee falling that we just talked about, and AJ gave his insight. So it's not only rupee falling, but you know, guess what? Pakistan is falling with their points in the international T20 tournament, which is currently underway in Australia. Last Sunday's game, India versus Pakistan, we haven't even come out of that excitement.
Absolutely.
That moment of joy, that moment of excitement, that moment of little emotional, whatever you call that. It was a sensational victory and absolutely a marvelous batting by Virat Kohli. They beat Pakistan, and then Pakistan also just recently lost to Zimbabwe by one run. By one run.
That
So
was an amazing
Pakistan
match.
lost to India in the last over, where you know Virat Kohli had to score 16 runs, something like that. So they lost in the last over, and here against Zimbabwe they lost by 1 run. So they are down to 0-2, 0 victory, 2 losses, 0 points.
Wow.
And let's see what happens. You know, the only way they can survive if they win the rest of the matches, and if South Africa loses rest of the matches.
That's an amazing thing. I mean, the World Cup, and we will cover the World Cup, the T20 World Cup cricket, but just to wrap up the rupees dollar theory, rupees has been down, let's say 7% year over year. Pakistani rupees have been down by 32%.
Oh, yeah.
So the Indian rupees is doing very well in comparison to a lot of other foreign currencies. But coming back to cricket, 8 balls, 28 runs.
Yes.
Virat Kohli, then he hits 2 sixes in 19th over, 5th ball and the 6th ball. Last over 16 runs and they make it happen. No ball 6, that was an amazing victory.
2 sixes in 19th over in Hassan Rauf's bowling. One of the shots was absolute marvelous. It was a straight shot.
Yes,
six.
the 5th ball
that
shot.
Normally,
runs.
that normally doesn't happen. But straight shot 6, right? And that was the amazing shot. And talk about, I mean, gods of cricket were all over around Virat Kohli. Last over, right? There's a no ball. There's a 6. On then a free hit, he gets
And
3
wide.
runs. He gets 3 runs, right? Then the DK gets out, and then Ashwin comes in, and he sees the white ball. He just lets it go. There's a white ball and the last ball, and they need, you know,
So you
1
have
run to
seen
win.
the whole cricket.
I think-
you have seen the stumping, you have
Yes.
seen the bold, you have seen everything. in
I'm
that
telling
over.
you, and I was so nervous watching the game. You have no idea. I mean, you know, really got it going in the 19th over with that 2 sixes. Okay, like momentum built up, but then Hardik Pandya got out,
Right.
and then DK
First
got
ball.
out. Yes, and we were like, are we going to be able to make it or not? And Pakistan already almost had the game in their pockets.
Absolutely.
But what a fantastic
But this whole
game.
World Cup T20 is very strange. I mean, Pakistan losing to. I mean, are you serious?
And you know what, viewers, you might be wondering, why are we talking about cricket in this business talk with AJ show? I tell you why. Because for that match, India versus Pakistan, in the Melbourne, there were 90 90,000 people. It was a sold out game.
Absolutely.
So far, there have been maybe 1/4 of people coming to the other games, but India versus Pakistan, 90,000 people. Think about the money that brought into
Absolutely.
Melbourne Cricket
Cricket
Ground
is a
and
big
to
business.
ICC and to BCCI. That's a part of our business story.
Cricket is definitely a big business by itself.
On a cricket note, I'd like to add one thing, that India's women's cricket team, finally the players are getting a raise, and most likely their salary is going to be equal to men's
That's
Indian
a great
cricket
news.
team.
That's wonderful news. Absolutely.
After all these years, this is happening, AJ, and this is very incredible. And India's women cricket team, they're doing a fine
Phenomenally
job.
well.
They've got
Absolutely.
some good players, really, because I do follow them. They got good players, and they deserve it. They really deserve it. So, कहते हैं ना, देर आए दुरुस्त है, पर आए तो सही.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's a cricket story. Now Bollywood, you know, AJ loves to talk about Bollywood because Bollywood and a business goes together. Akshay Kumar's film Ram Setu released on Diwali Day. You may have missed the promotion of Ram Setu because quietly, you know, they promoted a little bit and then they released it. So it's out there, but it's in a legal trouble also because Subramaniam
Absolutely.
Swamy, former MP and social activist and an attorney, has filed a lawsuit against Akshay
There is a
Kumar.
lot of controversy
Yes.
against it, that the way they are showing in Ram Setu. I haven't watched the movie personally, but I heard a lot of reviews about
It just
it.
released a couple of days ago. How can you
Absolutely,
not watch it?
absolutely. So, but there are lots of controversy around it, that the way they have portrayed the whole picture is
Yes.
not legally correct, is not okay, is not appropriate.
It's a misleading. Whatever the concept of Ram Setu is, you know, between India and Sri Lanka, the Ram Setu, that bridge was built and everything.
Right.
So, according to Subramaniam Swamy, entire the storyline, the concept is misleading, and that's why he doesn't want that to happen. And on top of that, Akshay Kumar being a Canadian citizen, Subramaniam Swamy has a question and objection about that too.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really understand the legal angle to it. I mean, why would there be a problem with a Canadian citizen? being there?
Why? But I don't know. He's bringing that angle.
But there is a lot of
That's-
controversy around
It's in the news, so I'm bringing, you know, I'm bringing
Absolutely.
that angle. But I don't know. Movie release on Diwali Day. I don't know if it's going to be really, really good, the blockbuster movie. But let me tell you, Akshay Kumar is not having a good year so far. Bachchan Pandey, one of his movies, failed
That was a
miserably.
flop.
Samrat Prithviraj
That was
failed
not good either.
miserably. Raksha Bandhan released on the Rakhi Bandhan.
That did not do well
Also,
either.
that did not do well too.
Well, I hope this new movie, Ram Setu, does well. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it will be the fourth flop for Akshay Kumar this year.
Hey, listen, you know, he's making money. He's making money when the movie flops or hits. Doesn't really
Absolutely.
make a difference. Samrat Prithviraj promoted so well, so much money put into it, and boom, on the first day itself,
yeah,
second day
absolutely.
itself. But hey, listen, you know, there is a good news. Some of her good movies are going to be releasing very soon. Amitabh Bachchan has a Brahmastra coming up and a
Absolutely.
movie called Unchai. Unchai, well, Brahmastra already released. मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ?
Unchai.
Unchai is a good one. You know, that is going to be a good one. जिसमें have Amitabh Bachchan, Anupam Kher, and Boman Irani.
I heard a lot of good things about
Yes, that's going to be releasing on November 11th. So that's produced by Rajashree Productions. How older people like to just, you know, get away from life and do something that they really enjoy to do. If you have seen the promo of that film, you know, do that, watch that. You will really like the film. And a couple of other films are also scheduled for release before the end of the year. Next week we'll give you more update on that one. Now, in the end, as always, let's talk about Science CPA Services.
Absolutely. So Science CPA Services is a full service CPA accounting firm, right from business startup, bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax, bill payment, annual tax, wealth planning, and IRS audit or the state audit representation. So if you come across a situation where you have you're paying too many taxes or your structure is not as fluent as it should be, you need a CPA. Science CPA Services is the right partner for you. So if your CPA is not picking up the phone or you hesitate in going to the CPA, then your business cannot survive. For a small business, a CPA is your partner, is your friend, a strategic
Absolutely.
advisor.
Absolutely.
If you don't have that relationship, you need to consider it again.
Very true. And while AJ is talking about that, if you happen to see the background of AJ, you will see on the screen there's a 1040 form picture and there is a dollar bill over there also. That
Absolutely.
means, AJ 1040 Kumar. That's a nickname that I call that.
Absolutely.
And of course, to save money on taxes or to do taxes right. That's what Science CPA Service is all about. 908-380-6876 is their phone number. ScienceCPAServices.com is their website. Until we meet again, same place, same time. AJ Kumar, thank you so very much for your
Absolutely.
time.
Thank you. It's my
I
pleasure.
am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and lucky days ahead. Do take care of yourself. So long.
Thank you.